Hey everyone, it's Eddie Campos here with Remax Preferred Associates. We're back with Coffee with Eddie and my guest Paul Zito with RGP. Paul, thanks again for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Eddie.
Yes, thank you again. So I've got a topic that I guess could be controversial for some. I wanted to find out your opinion of how this has affected you and what you do directly. And that's how has Ohio Governor DeWine, how have they been able to manage and maneuver through the difficulties of COVID-19? Has that been a help or hindrance to what you guys are doing?
I'm always the optimist. I've said that many, many times, and rightfully so in this case, and it's not controversial at all. I'm very fortunate working in economic development in Northwest Ohio to be in Ohio. The governor is generally recognized around the world as having done a very good job with reacting to the COVID crisis and helping businesses, ensuring the health and safety of the population of Ohio. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite news sources, the BBC, British Broadcasting Corp, has a great article about Governor DeWine and how he took swift action to address the COVID crisis, whereas other states, other governors kind of let it go on a bit too long before they did anything.
We're kind of seeing the effects of their procrastination right now.
Yeah, exactly. And most people would say that Ohio is much further down the road than Texas, Arizona, Georgia, Florida, because it did take swift action. We're playing it day to day, but still, the preliminary steps that were taken by Governor DeWine and by Ohio were very good. In terms of economic development, again, I'm very fortunate. Jobs Ohio and RGP implemented new programs to help businesses deal with COVID. Do they need help with payroll? Do they need help with PPE? I believe the total amount of funds that Jobs Ohio has committed to help with the COVID crisis is over $320 million. Wow. And that leads to another great advantage for economic development in Ohio and Northwest Ohio, simply the fact that we, RGP, are privately funded and Jobs Ohio is privately funded, not dependent on state tax revenue. Most economists around the country will have realized that every state is going to lose tax revenue. Therefore, economic development efforts in every state, except Ohio, will suffer because those economic development agencies will not have the funds not only to provide grants and loans and fund training programs, but simply to do the job of marketing the state or the region as a location. When a company comes to look at having a new operation in Northwest Ohio, to look at 20 acres or 100,000 square feet, it takes some money to arrange the transportation, the food, sometimes hotel, in my case, interpreters, if they're coming from Asia or Europe or elsewhere around the world. So the governor's done a good job with the crisis. Jobs Ohio and RGP have done a good job in the short term, helping companies with new programs to help them deal with the COVID crisis. And in the long term, to be able to continue marketing Northwest Ohio and Ohio as an ideal location for businesses.
I tried to stay away from anything that could come across as being divisive. And obviously, there's a lot of polarization that's happened with folks lately. I think no matter what side of the fence you may stand on, what Governor DeWine did way back in March was somewhat controversial, and some people were not happy about it. But as you said, in the long run, it was definitely the right move for the community, for the well-being of the community, for the health of the community, and for us to continue on and be successful in our community. I was very happy to see what he had done. And the one thing I recognized is that anywhere I've looked, leaders were forced to make very difficult decisions. I always say between horrible and terrible, but you have to make a decision, right? And they, looked at everything they possibly could. They got advised by as many people as they possibly could, and then they made their decision. And I feel Governor DeWine did an excellent job of doing just that.
Oh yeah, and there have been terrible job losses, and there probably will be in the short term. However, Ohio has a very good advantage because in this crisis, there are new growth industries. Think about what we're doing now with virtual meetings, virtual webinars. Think about plexiglass. If you're making plexiglass right now, you're making a ton of money. Right. Think about architectural engineering firms. One of the key issues in dealing with the crisis is ensuring a good work environment. So spacing people out so that they can work efficiently. Also construction companies and electrical engineering companies. A lot of manufacturing operations, offices are investing big money in killer HVAC systems to make the air more healthy, more clean. So there are growth industries that are going to come out of this.
It's interesting you say that. So I'm a musician, I'm a drummer. One of the companies that I'm familiar with is the Evans Drumhead Company making drum heads.
Oh, yeah.
And now they've elaborated their drumhead spectrum to making PPE. They're making the plastic face masks that doctors and nurses are using.
Oh, yeah.
And, I just can't imagine what it must have been like in their meeting room when they knew that everything was being shut down. The music industry was going to change. There was no touring going on. People can't be close. I mean, musicians are on a stage. All of those things were going to go away. Being in a studio wasn't going to be possible. And what do you do? So somebody was innovative enough, or at least had enough forethought to think, you know what? This PPE stuff, that's nothing but plastic. That's what we deal with. That's what we're good at. Why couldn't we do that?
Right. And those businesses that can adapt to the crisis and find that opportunity are going to do well. Yeah. It may be providing PPE equipment, or it may be segueing into another aspect of their industry.
Yeah, like some of the local breweries were making hand sanitizer.
Oh, exactly. And I think, the restaurant industry has been one of the hardest hit. And some restaurants are going to be able to do it well. The spacing, the hygiene, the cleanliness, some are not. And, it's up to that business person to figure out what is the best route to take to ensure that their business goes on, to take care of their employees, and to provide a good product and or service to their customers.
Well, tying into what you've said several times, trying to be the eternal optimist, even though there are definitely some terrible things that have happened, that there is significant job loss, there are companies that may not make it. It is nice to see that there are some people that were able to take this situation, as grave as it could be, and turn it into something positive for them and the people that work for them.
Yeah. Again, I am the optimist, and on March 15th, I thought, oh my goodness, as many people thought, the world is going to end. However, the great thing about America, about the USA, is the resilience of business and the ability to adapt and to find that opportunity. So I think things are going to be better than many people thought 100 days ago.
Yeah. Well, Paul, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eddie.
It's always great to talk to you. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to Coffee with Eddie. We'll see you next month.